Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Chopper History today. Sorry, we've been a little MIA. We've been so busy with Sturgis and getting that out of the way, so we're all done. First, I want to give a shout out to everybody local that came out to our bike nights. Last night was our last one. It was another good night. I hope everybody local enjoyed it. If you missed it, you don't want to miss it next year. We had a really good crowd this summer. We had food trucks. We had a band. It's definitely a good time had by all. So thank you guys all for coming out and supporting our bike nights.
Brought to you by Law Tigers.
That's right, Law Tigers, in which Chopper History is sponsored by Law Tigers and Indian Motorcycles. And let's give a huge shout out to Law Tigers because those guys, I saw them several times in Sturgis, which I assume you did too, Dad.
Yeah.
Those guys are real bikers. They're good guys. Definitely in the industry. They're not just attorneys. They're not trying to get you money. They're good guys. So shout out to Law Tigers, Ari and Lionel. And then even our local guy, Dylan, who was out here last night with the Law Tigers truck. Although I didn't see Dana set up the big Tiger guy.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why now that I think about it.
Yeah. But he had the truck parked out front so everybody could see it.
Yep. And we got tents. We had the Law Tigers tents set up and everything. So shout out to Law Tigers for supporting the motorcycle industry. Today on our show, we're going to have Chris Callen, who's going to talk about the Smokeout, which let me put that banner up. Let's see, it's this one, which is September 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's in North Carolina. So that is that. Let me give a shout out to the people that have checked in on here. Jason Sims, which Jason runs the Cannonball and the Chase. And the Chase is the next event for me, will be Route 66. So we go from Springfield, Illinois to Santa Monica in September. I'm riding the 1936 again. So
and then we got Craig. Hey, Craig, from Vintage Pros Paint, which is that's the clear that we're using, the primer we're using, and the black. Great stuff. We haven't had any trouble whatsoever. Goes on nice, buffs easy. Vintage Pros, you can look it up. It's made by a company called Cumberland, but great stuff. And we're going to promote it and use it, and it'll be on all of our paint jobs.
Yeah, so Vintage Pro, give them a shout out. Walt, I see. Walt, email me any pictures that you got. Walt takes great photographs. We see him at the events as well as I see him on the Cannonball and the Chase.
Oh, yeah, right. I saw Walt a few times.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw you because it all blends together. But Walt, send them to my email. It's jody@perowitz.com. Pretty easy. We got the dude on here checking in. Jeremiah Costa, Gary.
Yeah.
Sniffle cough.
Yeah. I hope you're doing okay, Gary.
Gary, check your mailbox. Steven Drago.
Hey, Steve.
Jeremiah had to work. It stinks.
Tim Gibbons. Hey, Tim. Been a long time.
Jeff Zeller. Thanks for tuning in. But all right, so let's get to this show. Let's bring on Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, Chris. Good. You all recovered from Sturgis or what?
Sturgis was a nut house. When I remember starting to go to Sturgis and there was always so much to do, but there was so much fun, and so it seemed like every day there was 2, 3, 4 things that you wanted to get to, real hosted activities. It was exhausting this year.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I mean, we were nonstop from the time we got there to the time we left. Between all of our events, the hamster business, all the shows, it was crazy, but it was a great time. I kind of wore myself out, but hey, that's part of the course,
Hey, and when you think of it, we're super lucky because think of back in early days of Sturgis, of course, everybody goes back to the, burning the outhouses down in City Park, coming from then when everyone was pretty much left up to their own devices to come up with activities. Now there's something literally for everyone and usually 2 things a day.
Oh,
True.
at least.
True.
At least, yeah. I mean, I can remember back when we first started going to Sturgis, it was like, well, where are we going to ride tomorrow? You
Right.
know, and we were staying at the city park in Sturgis, and you know, a long ride was up to Deadwood. You know, and then a couple of times we went as far as Spearfish.
Did you
know?
did you ever go to like Mount Rushmore back then? Or
No,
anything?
never. We were on little ironhead diggers, so we weren't. No, I don't think I ever. Not that I can remember.
Were you ever a participant in burning the outhouses?
No, but I watched. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy times. And I mean, Sturgis is such an event. And, I tell people that have never been there, I said, listen, there's no second to Sturgis. No. I've been to events all over the country. And if you have to go to one event per year, make it Sturgis, it'll be worthwhile.
And it's funny, like people's misconceptions, not even just people back home that aren't part of motorcycles, but people that are in the motorcycle thing, and they think they know what Sturgis about. But that's really, we did that the whole 80 years in a day thing. And that's really where the country starts to get really beautiful going west.
It does.
And there's so much history about the path to freedom for pioneers. And it's just an amazing place. Rally, no rally, whatever you do, like that's where it starts to happen.
Yeah. I agree. I tell people all the time, and all the motorcycle trips I go on, this country is so beautiful, and there's so many spots that aren't tourists, so you don't necessarily know about them, but they're beautiful, and you don't need to go outside the country. There's just so much here to see.
So I have to tell you, one of the Sturgis highlights for me was the hamster ride in on Thursday. And that, I'm still, and in my mind, I'm still a 12-year-old kid is just amazed by all of this stuff. But being in the back of that line and seeing that whole line of yellow shirts on the coolest custom bikes in Sturgis, and then watching them funnel through the city streets and all the people lined up and everything, that is without a doubt the coolest thing that happens. If anybody out there, if you missed that, if you're in Sturgis, when these guys do the ride in, you have to see that. You have to see, because you see the coolest bikes and you see a procession of this group of individuals. Is incredible.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see what it looks like from the back. I'm always in the front, so I never get that. The best I can do is look in my mirror, But
it's crazy. I want somebody. I'm assuming Chow or somebody from the Iron Horse or somebody has to have a drone up in the air when all of you guys are coming in.
Yeah. So he took a ton of stuff at a paint show too, and I follow him and obviously Iron Horse on Instagram, but I haven't seen any posts. Right. I'll have to send him a message like, "Hey, post some of this stuff." I want to see it. Chow. His name doesn't fit him.
Right.
But he's like a young kid. He's in charge of their social media, and then he does the mics and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what
the MC now.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd know him if you saw him.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Chris? You know what we really missed this year, and maybe you can do it next year, is in previous years, there was always someone up on the first bridge photographing the ride. And
there was nobody there.
We looked up there, and Donnie and myself, we both looked and hey, nobody's up there filming.
Dude, I would definitely, anytime there's something like that, I'll make that stuff happen.
Yeah.
All you guys have to do is tell us, because that would have been, I should have had somebody, thinking about it. Hindsight is 2020, but we should have had somebody even at the exit that we all got off of. If I would have had somebody there with a drone in the air, it would be killer.
Yeah.
Especially with technology now, drones get such good footage. To fly a drone. I don't think anybody's ever flown a drone over you.
No, I don't think so either, And it was so cool to have the state police give us a full escort.
Right.
Oh, you got escorted all the way?
All the way.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
By the state police.
Wow, that's really cool.
I mean, I can't imagine how many cops were involved. When we got to Sturgis, there had to be at least 25 different cops that were blocking the streets and directing traffic. And I mean, it was just a really cool deal.
That's what I told Heather. We were in the middle of the ride, and I noticed, I leaned back to her and I said, how about this? I said, these cats have the entire freeway blocked off. I said, Who actually can pull enough strings to block off the whole freeway in Sturgis, even for that 20 minutes that we came through?
Yeah.
So you being in like the middle and with the state police leading, did you find there wasn't really a slinky effect?
It was a little bit when we very first got started. You
Yeah,
know what I
because
mean?
everybody kind of takes off to get on the highway.
Yeah. But then
Yeah.
it settled in, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
usually when the state police lead a ride like that, it's very maintained speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's funny though, like, I've been in a whole bunch of these this year. And it's funny that especially when just like Joe Citizen motorcycle people are riding with you guys, it's like they have something to prove. So they
Yeah.
get out there, man, and they're tearing ass like, I'm riding with the hamsters. I got to put it all out there. And I mean, there's good reason. I mean, your whole motto is ride tight and fast, and you do.
They do, for sure.
Yeah.
Chris, so tell us about the Smokeout. That is our next event, as well as I'm assuming your next event.
It is. And just to put this out there, so we ran a thing called Big Mountain Run for 9 years. That was the Cycle Source magazine annual party, and I never wanted it to be anything more than a dirty chopper party out in the woods, and it was always cool. But when I got to do this was an opportunity. They in music, Xavier and I always talk about how music and motorcycles parallel so well. And when you play live music, you always play one for the crowd, one for the owner, and one for the band. And that's how you keep a good mix going on, and you get hired back. Well, this is that event that does all of that at the same time. This is something that's, to me, is such an honor to do this, because if you consider the history in 21 years of the Smokeout, it was where biker build-off started. Billy Lane and Roger Bourget, first ever biker build-off happened at the Smokeout. It was where
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that either.
Good knowledge.
It's where the Guinness Book of World Records world's longest chopper was set at the Smokeout by the Shade Tree Boys. It was where a lot of people would ever very first meet people like Ice Cream Man from Hell and Indian Larry, and a lot of these characters that really over the last 2 decades became ingrained in our culture and became such an important part of it. Smokeout was where the place that happened, and additionally some sad points too. I mean, that's where Richie Pan left this planet, so the fact that Heather and I were going to get to become the caretakers of this incredible event that's been so important, and take it to the next step, is a huge honor. Other than that, it is exactly what it says. It has always been the world's greatest chopper party. We packed in a ton more events, took it back to the original place where that first biker build-off happened in Salisbury at the Rowan County Fairgrounds, and people were losing their minds. Like, I literally can't believe how well this is being received.
That's cool.
Well, great. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great weekend. And, I got a bunch of guys from up here that want to go down. So, yeah, it should be a great time.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about the place that it's at. So you said fairgrounds. So where is and honestly, I don't even know myself. Where is Salisbury, like, in relation to like Charlotte, let's say?
Pretty close. Like, it's in the triangle of like Charlotte, Statesville. It's in the triangle of all of that stuff. So it's nice and centrally located in North Carolina. We did move it. Originally, it was happening at the Rockingham Raceway, and it was happening in June. Well, the biggest complaint that we heard from people when we asked for input was it's too hot.
I just gonna say it's got to be hot.
Yeah. So we moved it. It was my idea to move it because I wanted to go back to the roots and kind of hit a reset for it. And then we moved the date to get away from the heat. But it's literally just, it's an old county fairgrounds. It's really nice. They've done a lot of upgrades since the last time Smokeout was there. They've cleared a bunch of more acreage for camping, and it's built-in bleachers for dirt drags. We're gonna have dirt drags with the Christmas tree and all kind of good stuff.
Oh, cool.
So how long has it been since the last Smokeout?
I think, and I just in one of the last magazines we did the whole history of smoke. Well, a majority of the history. There's still a ton more to get to, but that's something I have to say too. For any Smokeout or Horse Magazine fans that are out there, we did the very best we could putting all this information together. Believe it or not, these guys were horrible at collecting media, keeping a record of anything. Like, so we're kind of starting from square one, rebuilding all that stuff. But we did the history, and I think it was 8 or 10 years, the first 8 or 10 years it happened at Salisbury, and someone on the 2019 was the last Smokeout at Rockingham.
Yeah.
But Mike Draco just commented that. But the reason they left Salisbury came down to one board member that had a burr in their saddle for it, and caused all kind of trouble, and the whole town was disappointed that it left. And proof of that is when we got back there, the hotels, the tourism board, the police, like everyone is helping us do everything. They're thrilled that we're coming back.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
We're going to probably go to Raleigh first and meet up with Mark Hendricks at Tobacco Road, Harley Davidson, and we'll probably ride over with him. But it should be really good. I assume the hotels are pretty close too.
Yeah, there's six hotels. You know, some nicer than others, obviously, but plenty of hotels. We definitely have to give a shout out to Mark Hendricks too, because him and Tobacco Road have been, irreplaceable as far as helping us with this. Right from the very beginning, he was instrumental in reinvigorating this thing and helping us with all of it. So thank you very much to them.
Yeah, Mark Hendricks is a great guy. We've been doing a lot of stuff with Mark, and he's doing a great job running the dealership. And, he's really into helping out with all these events, especially, the Smokeout.
Yeah. He's another one, like you guys were talking about, law taggers. Mark is just like that. Anytime he sees an opportunity to jump into something, whether it's in the capacity of his position at the dealership or as just an enthusiast, he's in it.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you have shows pretty much every day. I have a couple of them. So one of them,
yes,
we are going to be giving away awards at within another show. So what is the date? Is this Saturday?
Yeah, this is Saturday, and this is gonna be the big show that everybody's become used to. So Saturday is gonna be one great big ride-in show. It's gonna also include in it, within that, the Pirwitz Paint Show that's gonna have awards for paint.
And then, so what about this show? Performance, that's Friday. Yeah,
this is John from Hardcore. He's been putting on some really great performance shows all around the country. With the way a lot of this stuff has moved on, with the performance scene coming on so strong like it has, we wanted to have a contingent of this, because a lot of us have been talking how, the performance guys coming into this are kind of like the whole chopper culture when it was in the beginning. They won't leave their motorcycles alone. They customize the hell out of them. They bounce them off of walls and they start over again, so we wanted to make sure we had something there for those guys too.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great. Now, as far as the paint show that we're going to do, we're sponsored. We have several sponsors, SATA Spray Equipment, and Vintage Pro Paint is going to also be a sponsor for us for the paint show.
Okay. How about this one?
That's the show that's going on Saturday in conjunction with the paint show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
I think we're actually up to like 35 classes.
Wow, that's a lot of classes.
Well, I like if a guy shows up with an honest to God like Survivor Digger or a 70s chopper, I want to have a class there. I would rather take a trophy home and unscrew the plate and screw something on for the next show than not have a trophy for that guy. We had a I forget what year it was, 70s. No, not 70s. I forget what year it was. It was a 70s inspired chopper, but it was an XK or KH model that showed up to our show in Sturgis. And I had a trophy for him, you know, and you're not going to see that very much anymore.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
it's
That's
still
for sure.
kind of like in its rollout condition, man. So
Yeah.
I'd rather have those trophies and make sure everybody has a chance at something.
Yeah, that's cool. I hope there is some diggers that show up. That's probably the area where they'll roll them out of the barn.
Diggers, and like we have a trophy for D-rake. You know, I want, like, being that close to the Midwest, I definitely want to have a D-rake class. There's a lot of St. Louis guys that'll be coming up.
That's cool.
Yeah, right, for sure.
What about like music and stuff? Are you gonna have like concerts and?
Yeah, so we have, you know, like the whole semi-truck stage, sound, lighting, all of that. A lot of different stuff. It's kind of going to be an outlaw country sort of thing on Friday. So our headliner for that is Dallas Moore. Opening up for him is Michelle Lee. We got a couple great bands leading up through the day. Music starts around 4 o'clock every day. And then on Saturday, our headliner is 9 Pound Hammer, which is kind of rockabilly, sort of punkish. Opening up for them is Coffin Cats. So it's gonna be good. Of course, everybody, for the history of Smokeout, they wanted the standby of the Rebel Sun guys, but Rebel Sun is on limited tour this year because of COVID. They shut down for a couple years and it just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen them in Daytona. They're pretty good.
They love them at Smokeout. I probably got 3,000-4,000 emails of people saying, "What about Rebel Sun? What about Rebel Sun?"
Really? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. There's a ton of bands that aren't on tour at the like that. There's the local theater, outside theater it only has one show a week, and that's usually every night there's a concert. Seems like people are scared.
They still are, man. I mean, it's, this is still with us. That a number of people that we all know came back from Sturgis with a version of COVID. Now, from what I understand from talking to a bunch of them, it is a much less invasive version. It's not as serious, but it's still out there. It's still there.
Yeah. Chris, how's Cycle Source doing? How's your magazine doing?
I'm so thrilled to answer this question with a positive response. During COVID, as soon as COVID hit, half the stores that we sold magazines through closed. So that meant
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So we went down to 6 issues a year. Kind of went into protect mode, tried to ride it out. Well, just last month we went back up to 10 issues a year.
So good. Excellent.
Yeah. The magazine's strong. It's really good. The whole system that we have here is doing very well. So I'm blessed.
Well, we look forward to getting our issues in the mail.
You know what, I think all the time about the history of, you were one of the first people to really reach out and take care of us and start introducing us to people. And when I was getting ready for this show today, up on the wall here in the office is the tag from the day that we went to hang out in Chicago with Ruben.
Yeah.
And watch the Chicago Bears practice. You were delivering his panhead to him.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, and I still have the visitors.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool history.
Yeah.
So your magazine, you got to be like the only surviving motorcycle magazine, correct?
Well, as far as the national newsstand right now, there's us and Easy Riders, and I don't revel in that fact at all. Like, I've told the people from Easy Riders, as much as I can help them, I will, because I want there to be magazines. And a lot of people don't understand that there's not a problem with people wanting to read magazines. There's still, especially with the younger generations, believe it or not, they've done a lot of studies that are showing that younger generations are actually suffering from technological burnout. And they're doing more things like vinyl record players, textbooks in classrooms. They're going back to that because, if you think from the time they're born now, they're exposed to all of this all the time. The problem is the distribution system in the United States, and it's broken in a way that you're just not going to fix, So we've turned that upside down, and we've taken all the stuff that we would normally reserve just for the magazine, and we use pieces of it everywhere. And that up to and including given, I think we're up to 6,000 or more magazines that we give away for free every month. We just take them out to shows and hand them out because those stories are more important than, the system that tries to sell the magazine. We do what we can with the newsstand and we move on.
Yeah, I bet. Is it tough to get your magazine in places, like for them to carry it?
That's a whole conversation. Like the American newsstand system is the most crooked, dirty business that there is.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably liberal in a sense, and you got to pay off the right people.
You do, and you pay constantly. Like there's firms for posterity. I won't get into the whole thing here, but there's firms where literally directly, once every 3 or 4 years they stop by for a check for $5,000 to $15,000 just to keep things, and they call it other things. It's
right, it's
a wax fee or it's a promotion fee, but the truth is it's just a shakedown, and they and we both understand that if you don't pay the money, you're out.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah. Boy, it's such a like, feeding someone's pocket on the side to get ahead.
Yeah.
It's funny to hear that even in a magazine. You don't think of it like, magazines. Oh, they take your magazine and sell it. That's what the profit is they're making money off of it.
Right.
Not that you got to pay to be in it.
Yeah, there's a whole pay to play system behind it where they really make the money. But see, here's something to talk about, and especially on this show for Chopper History, because the straights never wanted our magazines in their grocery stores. You know what I mean? Like we were never proper at the dinner table or anything, but we had a system back then that every motorcycle shop carried magazines. Every dealership did. And that's all gone. Like we've forgotten the importance of policing our own communities. And like anybody out there that still has a shop, you should have Easy Riders in it. You should have Cycle Source magazine in it, to make sure that we continue to bolster this and reinvigorate our core and keep the motorcycle thing healthy.
True. True that you got to support your industry.
Yeah.
And that magazines. I mean, I know I personally, I like to have a tangible thing. Like I like to read. I read a lot of books, and I refuse to do like the Kindle or even audio books. I can't. A butterfly flies by and I forget what I'm even listening to. So I like to have a tangible thing. That it's sad that you can't. Even the junk magazines, those don't even. I don't even think those really exist.
And here is the shame, and Dave, you can attest to this. A large part of our history, as far as the motorcycle counterculture, the chopper culture, custom culture, whatever you want to call it, a lot of that history was contained in the pages of those magazines for decades and decades. Well, as the magazines start to become less a part of the culture, that history is disappearing with it, because it used to be like when we would always go to the swap meet, you could pick up old magazines. people had milk crates with them in, and even that is disappearing now. And with it,
You're
all
right.
the stories, the pictures, that stuff all just goes away. Like there isn't a single place that becomes a storehouse of motorcycle history for us. The AMA pretty much has the other side of the line all worked out. But I think that's, that leads us into talking about how a bunch of us are so feverish about the work that we do with the Hall of Fame and Sturgis, because part of it becomes that for us.
Right.
Yeah, like that's preserving it.
Absolutely. I mean, magazines, my God, I couldn't even begin to tell you. I have thousands of magazines, boxes and boxes and boxes, and I could sit there for days just looking through them at all the old stuff that I remember, all the people that were in the industry back in the 70s and 80s. And you look and you say, how many are still in here? I mean, not very many, it's sure changed.
So you just recently told me that you were cleaning the garage and he went through like 5 boxes of magazines and he threw away 5 magazines.
Yeah. I probably
can't do it.
100 or more magazines that I was able to throw away 5.
Just recently, and I think I told you this story in Sturgis Day, but just recently I got a call from Bob K. And this is the year Bob has decided to start retiring.
This is Bob's big year.
Yeah.
So he called me up and he said, "Hey man, I need your address." And I'm like, "Okay." He said, I have something for you. He said, "When you get it, call me and we'll talk about it." So I go out one day and UPS brings me 2 boxes, and one box is, every once in a while he'll just send me, like, he's cleaning out.
Yeah.
Right. And he'll send me old ad stuff and magazines. So I'm like, okay, well, this must be what this is. I open the box and there's a bunch of, shirts from like the early days in Nemco and stuff.
Oh, that's
And
so
then
cool.
the whole other box, I mean, probably this tall, is a Rolodex. And for those of you out there that don't know what a Rolodex is anymore, it used to be a little physical thing that we kept cards in so we could contact other people that weren't on our friend list. But it was Bob's Rolodex from his entire career. So you could literally, you could see people, card after card going from this company to this one to this one. You saw their whole career as you were flipping through that.
Yeah.
It's great. I have it up in my garage now, and I'm still only about 30% through it.
Oh yeah, it'd take you forever to get through it.
How many of those people still are around now?
Right. Right.
Did you recognize any names?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I saw a ton of them. I even saw, like, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Sharon Murphy from Drag Specialties, Dave?
No, I don't think so.
But see, names like that, like Sharon I think she was a regional back in the day when I had my shop when we started the magazine.
Yeah.
She was my regional drag rep.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her at the Hall of Fame.
Really?
It'd been years, but those memories are triggered when you go through that stuff, whether it's an old magazine or a Rolodex or an ad that somebody was in, and it's just a shame to think about losing that. I almost, like, we talk all the time about starting some kind of a mechanism to start collecting that stuff. Even the old magazines, if, it would be great to start a project where we start scanning all those old pages and making our version of Library of Congress, where all that stuff still lived digitally.
Yeah.
That if you wanted to, you could go and find stuff, you could search it, it would be indexable.
Could be like the motorcycle Smithsonian.
Yeah, and maybe that's conversations to have with the people at the museum, that becomes a project. Because I mean,
the museum is always looking for new and better ways to preserve history. And that might be something worth talking to them about for sure.
Yeah. If Chris, if you or anybody out there comes across any like old Bike Week t-shirts or anything, like, I love that stuff. Yeah. I had on a shirt yesterday that was DP's, and it fits me perfect. And it's like a cutoff sleeve, but like the sleeves are sewn, and it's Harley Davidson in the front and then Cycle Fab on the back.
No kidding.
And down in the bottom, like real tiny, it says "for bikers only." Like, it's so cool. It's such a cool shirt, and it's I could be wrong in saying this, but I feel like, so it had to be from, like, when did you think you did that? Like late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, probably.
So figure it's almost 40 years old, and it's still in mint shape. Like, and I wash it, dry it, everything, but it was made in the USA.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably why 40 years later it still exists.
And there's even history in that. Like, if you think about that in our time in this, Jody, the Hollowbacks and, the people that were in charge of the licensing and branding, and Harley was, iron fist with all the stuff. That shirt came from a day when Jerry was still ripping off Harley designs and printing them. Like, they were printing truckloads of that stuff at a time. Nobody was paying attention to that. And then they sold them in the aftermarket, Nobody paid attention to any of it.
Yeah, like, it's so cool. Like, I have a bunch of shirts from when I was little, and my brother and sister, little kids shirts, the same thing. They're Harley Davidson shirts with Cycle Fab on the back. And, like, one of them I have is like, "My dad rides a Harley," the typical shirt. But back then that was cool, and you could do that. It's kind of a shame that you can't co-brand like that anymore.
What was that? Back in the day, Hollaback, but there was another t-shirt guy that
Stratman.
Yeah. Did you ever know Stratman?
Yeah, that was the Buffalo guy, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
the
what
Buffalo
those were
bike.
from, I think.
Yeah.
I think they were
Because I used to
Stratman.
deal with Stratman a lot before Harley Davidson nailed things down. You know, he would print Harley shirts for me with my
Yeah.
logo on them. I did one that said specializing in Harley Davidson. About a year later, I get a letter from Harley Davidson's with assistant deceased.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
they
cool that stuff that you could get away with.
Yeah, Ron Stratman. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Stratman still does shirts.
Well, he's
With-
dead. I know Ron.
No, but I know,
dead.
but like
Yeah.
the company
Yeah.
Okay.
is still one of their distributors, I guess
Yeah.
you'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like now if you even just use the word Holly, the
Oh yeah. You
Iron
have to be
Fist, coming down on you.
you have to
You
be
know, I'll
super
tell you a
careful.
quick story about. I got a friend of mine that's he's a big swap meet guy and an internet pots guy. He sells a lot of stuff, and so he was turned on to a stash of pots that a guy died and his wife had the stuff. So he calls the woman and tells her that he wants to come up, but he can't get up there for a few days. Well, he gets up there and, a lot of this stuff's picked over. It's old vintage stuff. And so he buys a few things and he says to the lady, just as he's going to leave, he says, "You don't by any chance have any old vintage T-shirts, do you?" She says, "Oh, yeah. I think there's a box of them up in the attic. You want to go up?" So she takes him up in this little dingy attic and says, "Yeah, look in this box." So he opens this box and there's all kinds of T-shirts and there's a box next to it. And he kind of pushes that box out of the way and he feels it's kind of heavy. So he goes through the T-shirts and he said, "Can I look in these boxes here?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure." Opens them up. 12 sets of knuckleheads in these boxes. So, he says, "Gee, do you want to sell these pots here?" And she says, "Oh, yeah, sure. Whatever you think." A dozen sets of knuckleheads.
Oh,
Had
What
them
about
all
the-
stashed. So, nobody knew.
you know,
What about the T-shirts?
Yeah, he bought some T-shirts too.
one and that stuff's still out there, man. It's
It
still
is.
out
Yeah.
there. It's funny at the stories never stop. I can remember when we first went to the national newsstand, I would always do one feature bike a month, one tech article a month, one ride story. We went to the national newsstand and like all of a sudden it got real. It was 5 feature bikes, 3 tech articles, 2 runs or ride stories, and I remember thinking to myself, what's going to happen when I run out of stuff to write about? And I realize how ridiculous that is that I ever said that. But at the time, all of this stuff was pumping through here like never before. And that's it, man. I mean, that's part of what makes motorcycles so special and so unique. It goes so deep into the fabric of America.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And we got Craig Ferry there. Hey, Craig from Florida. 3D was another T-shirt company.
Oh, was that like Stratman?
Yep. And Matt Roth. Hey, Matt.
So we got somebody asking, I'm not sure who it is. They said, we got a question. Will there ever be a best engraving class?
That's
That's a good one
good
because
point.
engraving's getting big right now.
I will add that just for you.
D-
Are you coming to Smokeout?
Covington had a cool bike that had a ton of engraving.
Oh, yeah. Covington's,
boots.
they do a beautiful job on all the stuff
Yeah.
they do. And there was quite a few bikes I saw there that had a lot of engraving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's getting to be a big thing again too.
That from 1978 to 1980, I had 4 full-time engravers working for me. I mean,
No
that
kidding.
crazy. Yeah. I used to have trailer trucks pull up and drop off pallet loads of pots to engrave, But those were the days.
Oh, it's Pedro the Engraver. I was
Right.
totally thinking it was him.
Oh, okay.
He's an
We just
awesome
did a-
engraver.
Yeah.
We just did an artist profile on him in this month's magazine.
Oh, did you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what? I
cool.
think I just saw it. Dude, like just came out because we just got
Yeah.
it in the mail. We
Yep.
might have got it when we were in Sturgis, and I kind of flipped through it.
Now, where is he at?
I think he's in Washington. Is he in
Yeah. I
Washington?
think Washington.
Is that where you are, Pedro? Yeah, he does an awesome job.
And we use Denny Avila. You know who Denny is?
Mm-mm.
He's up there in Washington too.
Maybe Pedro's
Yeah.
in California. Pedro, where are you from? Someone.
And I know, so like Heather New out of Canada. Yeah, Washington State. Heather New out of Canada. Obviously Tay Herrera and the late CJ Allen. But man, there's
Danny's in Oregon. He's in Washington State.
Okay.
So Pedro's in Washington State.
Yeah.
There's so much now because, you know, just like, you know, tattooing for a long time was a hidden art, you know, and then all of a sudden Spalding and Rogers came out with a, you know, do-your-own tattoos kit. And that's kind of what happened with engraving. Like you can get gravers online now on a whole kit with the little rotating stand and everything to get started on it. It's just how much time you spend to perfect it is the thing.
Yeah, but some guys, I think you got to have like an engraving, you got to have somewhat artistic ability.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it is an art in a sense of you're making art on metal.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you were talking a minute ago about some back in the day stories, and I think that's one of the coolest stories I ever got was your dad telling me about he was doing so many paint jobs at one point back in the 70s that he had never done the calculations of what things cost or what time cost. And when he finally stopped.
No, that's still today, Chris.
Yeah.
Still today.
Yeah. I'm glad Heather's not on right now too, because
yeah.
It's the same thing.
She's probably talking to the computer right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally shooting from the hip. You know what I mean? Yeah, give me $300, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'll work for $2 an hour.
Yeah.
And the difference in the prices and the materials, God.
Yeah, the materials have gone crazy, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to paint a bagger nowadays, you're talking $1,500 to $2,000 in material.
Yeah.
You know, that's just material.
So I was just, I need to paint the bottom of my boat.
Yeah.
So I went to look at, you know, buy like bottom paint. Cause I guess, you know, in the ocean you have to use, you know how much a gallon of paint for the bottom of your boat is?
How much?
$600.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
I was like, holy cow. Why is it so, that's a lot of money for a gallon of paint.
Hey, that red that's on my Something Wicked shovelhead chopper. That was a House of Color red, and I had to have that color red. It was $600 for a pint of it. And the guy came back to me. I said, hey man, I just want a pint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
no, it is. It's crazy.
I know that's like, you know, custom colors, but I'm thinking like, I'm just going to paint the bottom white. Like how much could a boat paint be? Thinking, you know, 60, maybe $80 at the most.
Well, you got to check out Cumberland.
600. I was like, I guess I'm not painting the bottom of the boat.
We'll have to ask Craig if Cumberland makes it.
Oh, I wonder.
Yeah. Craig, if you're listening, does Cumberland make boat bottom paint?
Yeah. I was literally like, and I mean, of course, that was at West Marine, which is wicked expensive anyways, but still, I was thinking like, holy cow, that's a lot of money.
When, you know, when we're talking about the differences in material, Dave, like, you know, today you get the little sheets that come with all the paint and all the warnings and stuff, and especially with the activators, and you know, you really gotta be careful. But remember back in the day shooting Emron paint.
Oh yeah.
And that stuff was brutal, man. And like none of us were wearing any cover or anything. Half the time you didn't even. That was the one paint that everyone was sure to put a respirator on. Like you didn't play around with Emron.
Brutal, and you know there was no forgiveness either.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't get a good finish, then you were pretty screwed because the stuff was just about impossible to buff.
I was just gonna say, is that like the paint that's wicked hard? Like,
yeah, they use it on trucks mostly now. I mean, it's, you know, well, I don't think they use it at all anymore. It's so deadly. You know, the stuff will kill you.
My old man used to shoot with a big 5-gallon pot. He'd shoot railroad cars, and they would he'd finish one and the train would move forward and he'd start shooting again, and he was shooting with Emron that whole time. Like,
oh boy,
I can imagine that's what helped him into the ground. But
yeah,
Yeah, it's got his lungs coated in it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your day, so we want to push the Smokeout, which DP will be at. That is September 8th through the 10th in Salisbury, North Carolina. So, any guys watching in that area or want to go back out to the Smokeout, if you used to go to it back when it used to happen, I believe 2019 was the last one, Chris.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, technically, it never missed one because we did a little toast deal at Willie's, or in one of the off years. But this is going to be the 22nd one.
Kind of cool that it's 22nd in 22.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if any of you guys want to come out to that, it's definitely going to be a great event. We're looking forward to it. We will have a Parrowwoods Paint Show edition at the Smokeout. So there will be some Parrowwoods trophies, as well as they are having several other shows. Oh, we didn't hit this. How about the drive-in movie?
So we put that ad up first, and do you know the people that own the rights? At first, the movie on the screen, and I just put any movie up. So it was Steve McQueen, a scene from On Any Sunday. I actually got the people that own the rights that called me up, and they were like, "Hey, you don't have the rights for this movie. We checked." And I was like, I don't even know if that's the movie we're showing, man.
Wow.
Really?
That
But
is a
they
good
were
movie,
on it.
though. Any Sunday.
Yeah.
That
So
is a
what
good
movie are you showing?
I'm not sure yet. We have a closet full of stuff that we have here, and we'll pull something out. Maybe I'll take a social media poll before we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a big blow up screen and stuff, and Thursday night's going to be kind of laid back. We have a reception. That's the one thing. If you guys are, interested in Smokeout all, this is gonna be a killer year, because the big deal that we have going on is the Legends and Legacies. And that is, we invited 9 of the builders from back in the day of Smokeout: Billy Lane, Paul Cox, Donnie Luce, Jeff Cochran, all the original guys that were kind of staples to Smokeout. They're bringing bikes to display. We have a great big beautiful air conditioned building. Randy from Cycle Showcases in charge of that whole building and the display. But they're additionally, each one of those guys is inviting a legacy. So kind of a newer builder or someone who hasn't been to Smokeout, it's kind of going to be the pass the baton deal, for the next generation of Smokeout.
That's very cool. Very cool. Somebody asked if you're going to be doing the Biker Olympics.
We are doing Biker Olympics, so I'm not exactly sure what you mean. There's going to be bike games that the Shade Tree guys are putting on, and that's going to be, all the traditional motorcycle field games and stuff. And then we added a thing because Hammer used to do a thing. Hammer from the Horse used to do a thing there called the anvil toss, and it was literally just a biker strongman. They literally who could whip an anvil the furthest in the field. So we sort of taken that a step up, and he's going to be the judge of this. But we're doing Atlas stones, which instead of Atlas stones, you're going to carry V-twin motors back and forth the given distance.
Oh,
There's going to be a deadlift that we have a hardtail frame worked out with 2 Olympic bars on the end of it that'll hold the weights. And then there's going to be a flywheel toss. So it'll be like the hammer throw, but
that's kind of cool.
And there's, prizes and everything for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it sounds like the Smokeout is definitely going to be a fun event. No matter what you ride or what you do, there's something for everybody. So if any of you guys, like I said, are in the Salisbury area or looking for an event in September, go on out to the Smokeout. And also buy your local, go to your local newsstand and get Cycle Source magazine.
Yes, please.
So we can support the industry.
It's hard to find your local newsstand anymore.
I know.
True.
That's the problem.
True. The convenience stores don't sell magazines anymore.
I mean, years ago, you every town had a newsstand.
An actual newsstand.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if you remember that, Jody, but like that was a big thing. Like the newsstand was the hub of all of it.
I think I was on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
And all they sold there was coffee, cigarettes, and paper products, magazines, newspapers. You get newspapers from all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, newspapers don't even exist.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
you can read it on social media quicker. Unfortunately and fortunately.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, you got to give it up for technology. We're really lucky. You guys get to do shows like this. You know, we get
True.
to talk about Sturgis immediately right now,
True.
as soon as we all get home. And that's great. You know, there's another thing, you know, back to the whole history of motorcycles, having the stuff in those pages and in digital archives. That's still got a place too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Chris. Well, thank you very much for coming on our show. Once again, all you guys, the Smokeout is September 8th through the 10th in Salisbury, North Carolina. And a shout out to India Motorcycles and Law Tigers for sponsoring Trapper History. And we will talk to you soon, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for doing this all the time too. On behalf of everybody that's out there watching, like these shows are great. It's keeping us all in the loop.
Well, you know, and not for nothing. I mean, you and Heather is like nonstop, you know, doing your thing, and you know, without guys like you, none of this shit would be happening.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
We got to
Thank
keep
you.
it alive.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye, Chris.
All right, guys. So that was our show today. Once again, another shout out to India Motorcycles and Law Tigers for sponsoring Choppa History. And if you guys have any suggestions or comments or anything, feel free to send us a direct message on Instagram. Mine is Jody Perowitz, his D Perowitz. We also have Perowitz_CycleFab on Instagram. I'm assuming you guys are on Facebook, so you follow us already, the Perowitz Facebook page. And YouTube, Jay Perowitz for YouTube. If any of you guys aren't following us on YouTube, go over there and give us a follow because we're going to start posting videos on there as well. I guess in next week, we will have a show with one of my fellow Sons of Speed racers. So don't miss the show next week, and we'll catch you next Thursday. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
See you next week.
See ya.